All right, it is 12, looks like 12:19. I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. First of all, welcome and happy Valentine's Day to everyone. Appreciate everybody being here. Okay, I'd like to call the meeting of the Northeast ISD School Health and Advisory Council to order. Let the record show that the quorum of SHAC members are present. The meeting today is in compliance with Section 28.004 of the Texas Education Code and applicable board policy. The council's meeting today will address only the topics on the agenda. No other topics will be discussed during the meeting. SHAC meetings are open to the public. Guests wishing to address the SHAC may do so by emailing the SHAC committee at shac@neisd.net. Any person that causes disruption during the meeting will be asked to leave. Thank you for your cooperation. Please remember, health-related issues can sometimes generate passionate discussions with very different viewpoints. Please remain calm and respectful throughout the process. Please listen carefully with an open mind to identify critical factors and statistics that should be considered in decision-making process rather than an over-relying on opinions and emotions. Please keep the NEISD student health as your top priority to help discussions stay on track. Okay, the first item on today's agenda is the approval of the minutes from November 15, 2023. Is there a motion to approve the November 15, 2023 minute? Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. Let's see here. Motion was by Brandon and the second was by Lori. All right, is there any discussion? No discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye and raise your hand. All those opposed, say nay and raise your hand. Okay, the ayes have it. The motion is approved. Next, the Nutrition Committee report. Please have, let's see if we could please have Lauren Peterson of the Nutrition Committee come and bring updates.
Okay.
Thank you. Oh, you're already there.
I'm here. Can you guys hear me? Okay, so we were really fortunate to have a Zoom call with Araceli Dominguez, who is the Assistant Director of Family Engagement and Migrant, and she's also kind of oversees the Family Specialist Program with NEISD. And so for those not familiar, the Family Specialists work on, I think, about 60 different campuses to help provide support services for students and their families. And so we, on the Nutrition Subcommittee, had looked into the School Health Index Survey to try to bubble up some nutrition concerns across the district. And we had landed on school breakfast participation is not as high as maybe it could be. Perhaps we could do better with modeling healthy habits for our students. So we wanted to probe around these areas, but we also wanted to leave time to Araceli to tell us what her concerns are as the head of family specialists. And so when she prioritizes student nutrition for the district, her number one concern is around access to health care, which nutrition certainly does fall under the healthcare umbrella. But she says they work really hard to make sure that students that are eligible for Medicaid are signed up, that students that are eligible for the SNAP program, which is food stamps, are signed up. A big concern around getting kids to primary care visits. There's a problem with transportation. The district does partner with some of our schools on having a bus that comes out and provides vaccines. But as far as primary care, there's a big gap there. Her second concern is around food insecurity, especially for students on the weekends, their evening meals, and then during school breaks. She's also concerned about healthy eating habits, knowledge and implementation of healthy eating habits. And then her fourth concern is around student access to physical activities outside of school. So one of the things she mentioned about school breakfast participation is that oftentimes the kids that need to eat breakfast on campus are coming in tardy, so there's not an opportunity for them to have breakfast. And we all know how important a full tummy is for a day of productive learning. She discussed how there's a district in the Valley that offers breakfast during the first period of the day. Sharon Glosson was on the call. She's the director of nutrition services for Northeast, and she said that a program like that would require a high level of investment from the principal of the participating schools and also from district leaders. We would need a lot of support there, and that funding would come through the free breakfast program, so it wouldn't be open to all schools. So thinking about possible solutions for her areas of concern, access to healthcare is an opportunity for nutrition to partner with safe and healthy schools. And we recognize that there's an opportunity to collaborate. The nutrition subcommittee recognizes there's a lot of areas that we could collaborate on with all of the SHAC members. But is there a way for Northeast to partner with community care clinics or with a large hospital healthcare delivery system in San Antonio to try to bridge that gap for some of our schools? Thinking about food insecurity, she talked about food pantries. She would love to see a food pantry on every high school and middle school campus. Currently, food pantries are on almost all the high school campuses with the exception of Reagan and Johnson, and they're all community run or supported. There's no district funding for these food pantries. The family specialists run these food pantries at the high school level with the exception of Churchill High School, which has a very successful food pantry. It's run by the PTA. So potentially we could, get with the PTA at Churchill to find out what it takes to make it so successful. At the middle school level, there really are no food pantries, except that Nimitz and Wood Middle School have more of like a food cabinet. But some of the barriers to having these food pantries that she would like there's no funding and support. There needs to be a dedicated space, and then there needs to be a system and manpower to run the food pantries. So it's a big ask, but certainly worth looking into. At the elementary school level, Snack Pack San Antonio is a service that the community partners up with eligible elementary schools to provide high-need kids snacks for the weekend to get them through the weekend. And it's supported by churches, local businesses, but it's volunteer run. The other thing that's really interesting is that there is a partnership with the San Antonio Food Bank and Northeast ISD, and a pilot program is going on right now at Lee High School. And this program is open to Lee families as well as to community members. It's a monthly drive-through food distribution event, and it's going to happen every month through the spring semester. There's a tremendous need in the Lee area. They opened up the application process knowing that they could provide food for 300 families, and they had to shut down the application program because they had 744 applications come in. So depending on how this pilot goes, is there an opportunity to expand to other campuses that potentially have a need? Again, it depends on support and resources and partnering with the San Antonio Food Bank. But a lot of priorities here, a lot of needs, and certainly things that we're going to look into seeing what we can do to help improve these issues for our students. Any questions or? And I'll put in a plug for the family specialists. They're doing amazing work, amazing work, and they should all be recognized. Yes.
I have a really quick question.
Need mic.
Maybe this exists already, but if a high school student has a pantry at their school and they have a younger sibling, could they qualify to bring extra home if that younger sibling is at a place without a pantry?
That's a really good question. I know what Otticelli said about the food pantries is that the students are able to go in and get food for them, but I don't know that it would funnel down to the younger students. Just,
I can tell you.
oh,
So I was
vice president of PTA at Churchill when we started the food pantry at Churchill. That was the brainchild of Laura Talley. And it's designed to have not necessarily for the child to take or the student to take home food for the family, but for their need. We went and visited the San Antonio Food Bank puts on an expo, and food banks from all over the city come and they give them instruction, and this is what you need to do to partner with it. One of the issues we had at Churchill is that the food bank requires a log. San Antonio Food Bank requires a log, so they have to register basically to receive assistance, and some of our families didn't feel comfortable with giving that information. So that's why we decided not to partner with the San Antonio Food Bank, and we did it on our own. It does take a lot of work, but it can be done, as the food bank is still very successful. Takes a principal to be on board, a community to be on board, teachers to be on board, because we actually have a faculty member that kind of oversees the board or the pantry, but it's not designed for that. Something, though, that we did do is we started giving them packets for when the holidays were around. So at Thanksgiving, they got a loaf of bread, peanut butter, and we did a food drive so that they could take food home, and it would, in essence, sometime feed their families. But it can work. I've seen it work, and it's still working today. It just takes a dedicated campus and community.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the fitness and physical activity recommendation and possible action on the recess policy. At this time, could I get Lori Fitch, the chairperson of fitness and physical activity, to please? She can have the mic. There you go. And we're glad to see you're here, and hope that your healing process
Thank you.
is quick.
All right, so after lots of deliberation and such, our committee would like to make a recommendation to make a change to the wellness policy concerning recess. As y'all can kind of see up here, I'll sort of quickly read it. So currently the policy reads, provide a regularly scheduled daily recess at the elementary level that is a minimum of 20 minutes of recess, of which at least 15 minutes is unstructured. The recess cannot be used for punishment, study hall, or tutoring. Schools that choose to have a lunch recess are encouraged to schedule the recess before lunch because it can increase nutrient intake and reduce food waste. What we would like to change or to revise it would read, all elementary schools will offer a minimum of 30 minutes of outdoor per district guidelines. So that's going to be things like weather permitting, that kind of thing. Unstructured play breaks, otherwise known as recess, each day split into at least 2 separate periods throughout the school year. Schools that choose to have a lunch recess are encouraged to schedule the recess before lunch because it can increase nutrient intake and reduce food waste. We wanted to add outdoor unstructured play breaks should be a minimum of 10 minutes long, not including transitions, to allow for adequate time for students to become engaged and play mentally, socially, and physically. And again, recess cannot be used for behavioral punishment, study hall, or tutoring. We know from many studying of journals, and there was actually a pilot program in Frisco ISD that luckily we were able to look at intensively. We have a former Frisco ISD parent, but we do know that studies show us that more outside unstructured recess provides huge benefits across a child's developmental spectrum, which directly correlates to classroom behavior and optimal learning. We also know that each of our individual campuses have many restrictions to the availability of time and access. So we didn't want to get so down and dirty with it that we had to say that, this is how you are going to have to do your recess. We would just like to be able to have it where they could have at minimum of 30 minutes, which would be 2 periods. So, in a perfect world, that'd be 2 15-minute breaks within their day. We do know that this, especially after a meeting of the principals, one of the obstacles, of course, is the instructional minutes that they are required to have in a day. But there are some schools in our district that are able to offer up 2 separate play periods within those instructional minute times. A lot of the people would be interested. We realize that it may not, because of layouts of campuses and that sort of thing, that some schools would not be able to offer that kind of time in the amount of instructional minutes that we currently have. There might need to be a change to instructional minutes. We had a meeting with Dr. Muskis, who's in charge of instruction and curriculum. She was very interested in interested in our studies, interested in what these schools that can offer it were doing. So I'd like to think that we could also, continue to meet with her. But what we're putting forth today is that we would like to change the wellness plan to increase the amount of recess time for our students.
Just to add on to what you said, I see one of the concerns here about if there are kids that are struggling to master concepts in the time that they have now. But some of the studies, or really all of the studies that we reviewed and the pilot program in Frisco actually showed that by incorporating additional breaks for kids, they actually had better academic outcomes. That by having a break and a chance to reset, they were able to come back more focused to class. And
they recouped the minutes lost of redirection. So all of those minutes of redirecting that behavior was then saved, and not only were their brains ready to learn, but the teacher had actually more time.
And we have 4 master schedules from 4 different elementary schools in Frisco. Frisco now in their 42. They have 42 elementary schools, so they're the same size roughly as we are. They implemented 40 minutes of recess last year, so they've been going on 18 months now. And so we have access to 4 of their master schedules to provide principals as they meet this summer, if this is approved. That they can look at other schools with similar, and those 4 samples have different varying student population numbers. So principals here will be able to say, well, I have 700 students or I have 900 students. How is this principal able to fit in specials and 2 recesses and or a pre-K kindergarten class? How are we able to use the playground and the grass that we have if someone else has a similar size campus? So we have those as well to provide principals with as they go to make their master schedules.
And to piggyback on that, we also have current principals within our district that are doing these programs that they can reach out to and that are actively talking together on how to make. We know each school is unique in size and space, and we were also have put out there to not limit this to just a playground facility. Maybe there's a lawn next to the cafeteria. Maybe there's a safe space that's an open run around, play tag. We got to start thinking outside of the box, that activity doesn't have to just be on a certain play structure.
Is there a motion to approve the recommendation or of the Physical Fitness and Activities Standing Committee? We have a motion. All right. Motion was made by Debbie. Do we have a second? All right, we have a second by Bonnie. All right, is there any discussion on the motion that has been made? With that, if there's no discussion, it's time to vote on the motion. At this time, the vote will be conducted by ballot for accuracy reporting to the Board of Trustees. Katie Steinhoff and Mitch Knath will be the tellers. They will be coming around and providing a ballot to each SHAC member present except for the trustee who is a non-voting member. On the ballots provided, please mark yes to approve the motion or no to disapprove the motion, or you may choose to abstain from the vote. After making your choice, fold the ballot like this. Like this, let me see. Okay, sample. That's right, I do not. Okay, please fold the ballot like this in a hamburger application, as I was noted to state. And hand it to, once your vote is folded correctly, hand it to one of the tellers. You want to go get the cubes and we'll, this thing that says cubes, that way while they're collecting the vote and the accounting, we can ask questions. Have all voted who wish to do so? If anyone else wishes to vote, please raise your hand. Okay, I don't see any hands. Okay, if no one else wishes to vote, the polls are closed. Okay. Can I have someone please raise their hand and provide a color? Purple. Purple, all right. So the question is, what do you like to do in cold weather? Sean? Please, hey, remember that this is, please, please remember that this is being videoed.
The pastor can't claim who can. Hey, listen, I'll be honest with you. Lighting a fire and our kids in the living room watching a movie, because I have adult kids, so anytime I can get them back in my house is a blessing. And so just sit by the fire and watch a movie with them. Perfect day.
All right, great answer, great answer. Okay, somebody else want to choose a color? Yes, blue. Who is the actor you like best? Who is the actor or actress you like best? Was that from a ventriloquist? All right, Julia Roberts. Very good. Yes. Okay. Okay, I'll do it at the next one. Okay, great. Thank you very much, Julia Roberts. She's a pretty woman. All right. I'm sorry. Can I get anyone else want to pick a color? Any color?
Red.
We have a repeat.
No, I'm not going to answer.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I just picked the color.
No. Come on, don't be shy. Okay, Diana, what color would you like? I saw your hand go up. Okay. All right, Diana, please complete this sentence. I feel most happy when. She's reading her novel. All right, very good. Okay, any other volunteers? Okay, so just a warning, or I guess an update. So we were going to be doing this hopefully 2 more times. During the second break, we will have an update from Mr. Hilliard giving us an update on the Board of Trustees meeting. So just wanted to let everybody know. So we're trying to kind of kill some time while the voting is being done. So please raise your hand and pick a color. All right, we have an orange from Sandy Winkley. Okay, Sandy, name a time when you were embarrassed. When you're asked to pick a color. I know it has something to do with your husband. When David wakes up in the morning. All right. Well, then you must be. So is your nickname Grace? All right. I have my daughter's nickname is Grace. So, all right. Looks like. Thank you very much. Looks like we have a result of the vote.
Mr. Chairman, regarding the physical and fitness activity elementary school resource policy vote, number of votes cast, 30. Number necessary for election, 16. Those in favor are aye, 28. Those opposed, no, 2. No illegal votes.
Great. Okay. So on the motion to approve the fitness and physical activity, the motion to pass the physical activity, fitness and physical activity, the votes were 30. The number for election is 16. Those voting in favor with aye was 28. Those opposed or no was 2. There were 0 illegal votes, and so the motion is approved. Great. Thank you very much. Okay, the next item on the agenda is if I could have Brandon Broom, chairperson of the Safe and Healthy Schools Standing Committee, please present the committee's recommendation for Tucker's Law.
You got it. I'm going to go through this as swiftly as I can, just in essence of time. A lot of people chimed in with some comments online, and I didn't respond on there because my intent is to cover all of them here, and I want to give you time if I left anything out. I respect every word that was put on there, so please ask at the end. Tucker's Law was passed last year, and it must go into effect in 2024. The law is to increase fentanyl awareness in our public schools in Texas. So this will affect grades 6 through 12. The way the law is structured, they want something to be done in every open enrollment and charter school in our district in the state of Texas to add instructions on fentanyl abuse. when you summarize everything up and you summarize everything up that the Teachers Association put out there, these 4 bullet points are the ones that are really highlighted that would have to be satisfied. Suicide prevention is currently being done already. We do this in our drug awareness. We do it in health class. The counselors do this already. The kids already get this. The hotline is on the back of their badges. We're already doing a lot to make cause awareness for this. And I want to make that really clear because there are several comments about that. This will be additional stuff that will go out along with our recommendations. Prevention of abuse and addiction of fentanyl. So if you look really at the law in general, what they've done is they've cut and pasted the current laws structured in the education code around substance and drug abuse, and they've cut and pasted it, and they've moved it over and repeated it, and instead of substance and drug abuse, it says fentanyl. So the overall requirements haven't changed. What they want the emphasis to be on is fentanyl. So we're doing a lot of this already. We're going to add in some extra material now about fentanyl. This will not only be done on the handouts that we're recommending, but also in the other modules that we're doing either in health class or from the counselors, so that kids at multiple grade levels and multiple time points throughout the year will be getting additional fentanyl-based education. And there were several comments about that. Awareness of school and community resources. Again, this is out there already. We're already doing this. We're going to continue to reinforce that and add additional resources. But just like the suicide prevention, there's a hotline that's on the badge of every student. This is made known to them many, many times throughout their time here. And then health education that includes information about substance use and abuse. That's being done. We're going to add in material that pertains specifically to fentanyl so that we can raise awareness to this topic. So our idea, again, because a lot of this is being done already, so the easiest thing to do would just be saying, we don't have to do anything else. We're already doing substance abuse. Let's just add fentanyl to that, and we can say we've checked all the boxes. We felt like a great time to do this would be during Red Ribbon Week because it's already a time that's set out. The governor does things every year during this time that's required of him now. And so we thought during Red Ribbon Week, this would be a great time. Every day during morning announcements, during protected time, there would be a handout given in every class across the district. These can go out on social media blasts, they can go out on the website so that they're distributed across the board. Very easy then for teachers to cover the flyer. It gets distributed to everybody and try to really get high numbers of agreement here on getting the information out there. When you get to the high school level, several of us who have kids in high school have seen this. During Red Ribbon Week, it's a little bit inconsistent. Elementary schools, middle schools, they get a lot of stuff during Red Ribbon Week. High schools is very different because they're all over the map. They're in athletics, they're over here, they're over there, and it's very hard to get everybody together consistently. That's where our guidance counselors come into play here. So they're already doing things to the high school kids to sit down and discuss at different time points the substance and drug abuse part. They're going to add to their instruction this material on fentanyl abuse and awareness. The handouts, I'm not going to go in through the website. We put this out there, but there is a fentanyl resource communication toolkit online through the TEA with lots of different information. I listed a few here, and these aren't saying, hey, we got to use these, but they were kind of some of our top picks because they cover a broad range of topics here. This is a resource that's approved by the Department of Health and Human Services of the state. It satisfies all the criteria of the law because it has to come from a professional. It can't come from just anybody that says, oh, here's what I read last night about fentanyl. This is one of the examples, just lots of facts about fentanyl, but a way to raise some awareness. This is another slide that talks about signs of overdose, how to save a life. Again, bringing up some things that if you easily review this with the kids, they can get some warning signs to see when somebody might be in the middle of an overdose. This is trying to raise more awareness about fake pills and how little amount of fentanyl it takes. This is a real deal, and we're seeing it. It's going to continue to grow. And because kids that get pills that they think they know what it is, they can oftentimes be laced in this. So the point being, only take it if you have a prescription for it or if you know exactly where it came from. Don't get it from anywhere else. And this is just another example. I'll go through that quickly. Additional efforts that we had considered was, again, I kind of hit this already, but adding this to what we're currently teaching already, which is very easily done. The Coaches versus Overdoses program, we're a big fan of. And there's a whole lot of resources online about this already that the coaches from different sports could use. Some may have time to do this, some may not. So we didn't want to say, oh my gosh, it's got to be mandatory and then cause a big burden but there's PA announcements that can go on at the football games or at the soccer games or anything, you know, that just raises more awareness to the community and lets them know that, hey, here at NEISD, we're all about making awareness and preventing issues related to fentanyl use and abuse. That covers most of it. Some of the comments that I don't think, I had a couple of issues, people were saying, well, how are you going to do training? Where are the experts going to come from? What curriculum are going to use? How are you going to meet all the TEKs? The TEKs are being met already with the current drug abuse programs that we're already teaching, and that comes through health and other avenues that we're already doing. Just by adding fentanyl awareness to that, we're satisfying the TEKs. And so to just do the bare minimum, satisfy that, that's very easy. What we're hoping that this will do is by adding various time points that we're giving more additional information out, we're not having to pay people to go train. We're not having to pay an outside organization to come in and provide this material. We vetted out a few of those, and it was going to be very time-consuming and very high dollar amount. So we're trying to stay within the restraints of the district financially and within their manpower and budget. So that's what I've got. If anybody's questions. Did I leave anything out of anybody's comments? If I did, please ask. The intention was not to leave anything out.
I know this doesn't necessarily come from the law, but I did ask, how can this outreach go to the parents? Because I think a lot of people are very unaware of this situation, and so without the parents echoing that at home, I just feel like we're not going to get as good of a result.
We discussed this back and forth, and I think the easiest thing to do was during Red Ribbon Week. I mean, even if that's the only time it happens, every day a flyer goes out on Skyward or something where it goes to the parents on an email. I mean, it's going to be next to impossible to make sure everybody gets it. In a perfect world, the kid gets it and they take it home.
No.
But if that's at least something
Right,
to
there's a
say,
mechanism
hey,
in place to offer the information.
correct. And,
Right.
And then, then if you add to that the coaches thing and at the games and other events, then hopefully it's going to be out there more and more and more. But very good point. Thanks. Yes, ma'am.
Did y'all do a cost of what it's going to cost to print the flyers for the grades 6 through 12 students?
No, we did not. And I mean, that's a valid point. We discussed that a little bit, but I mean, of all the options, that was clearly going to be the least cost. The only other alternative to really avoid printing all that would be print one per class and have the teacher put it up, or have the teacher put it up digitally on a slide and just discuss it with the students. But we've kind of agreed, to really put it in their hands and make sure they have something to carry with them would be more effective.
And then with discussions of classes being not required, but yet you're saying that part of those classes will cover this, how will you fit those for the kids who may or may not take that class in the future?
They will still get it regardless. I mean, they're not only going to get it during health class. So right now, when they have time with the counselor's instruction with the high school kids, for instance, will be.
So with that okay, like the counselors, you said that was suicide prevention. So with suicide, like that, you said that they're doing those presentations, so they're also just handing out fentanyl flyers at that same time? Or you're saying that the counselors are covering that suicide prevention bullet and the fentanyl prevention is with the health classes and the flyers?
Both. So the counselors will include fentanyl awareness instruction with their current teachings that they're already doing. So we don't have to add another layer to this and make it more complicated. And that, just from a logistical standpoint, that was going to be the easiest way to fit it in for everybody and make sure that they get it. And the idea is that they don't only get it in health class, that they get it in multiple times throughout the year.
In a flyer?
Some way,
Okay.
but I mean, or it could be a flyer, it could be email, but I mean, how are you going to make sure that they get it? I mean, to use a program like DARE, it's a great program. There's several other ones out there similar, but the cost to come in, they have to send police out, they do training, it's a long drawn out ordeal. It takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of money to do that. And then how are you going to arrange that in the class schedules and everything else to make sure that they have that? I mean, it's almost like adding another course now just for drug awareness. So we thought this is a good way to kind of step it up a little bit and do a little more than we're currently doing, but also keep it within the restraints that are out there.
Also, you keep saying student badges. Do you mean?
Student IDs, I'm
Okay,
sorry.
I'm
Yeah.
curious. Okay, thank you.
Sorry, thank you.
That was all. And then the only other thing I would need a clarification on is you said protected class time. So by protected class time, you mean announcements?
Morning announcements, yeah. I mean, there's some other flex time that you could use, but morning announcements was going to be the easiest time where, hey, it gets out to everybody at every grade level. So that's when we're going to hopefully have the time to say, here, boom, we're going to do this during morning announcements. That way it's very consistent. We can capture the most kids that way.
Sorry, I'm just kind of processing while you're talking. So if you've said this and I didn't catch it, I'm trying to understand when these moments come out, like she was saying, these are additional times, not in like a health class. These are like in other moments of the day.
Well, the handouts would go out during Red Ribbon Week, during
okay,
morning
got
announcements,
that.
and with a brief discussion, right?
So if a
But-
kiddo has a question about the content, where do they go?
This is tough because can you make every teacher in the district a quote unquote expert, right? So the hope is that they'll get referred back to their counselor for further discussion on this matter.
Okay,
I mean,
when
that-
y'all were discussing, I'm just using an example because I don't know what happens in all the meetings. Like when we didn't know how to roll this out, we did a principal gathering. Did y'all reach out to the district to see like, hey, what do y'all suggest or what's working? Is this the feedback y'all got?
Thankfully, Kyra is on our committee, is the
Oh,
head of the
okay.
counselors. So, I mean, a
Gotcha.
lot of that discussion actually
Happens
came directly
naturally,
from
okay.
her at her recommendation because
Okay.
they're already hopefully the point of contact here where the students will feel confident coming to them and talking about sensitive topics or anything like that. So the easiest thing would be to have them stick with that level. I mean, this is good. Then you go, well, my gosh, then do we get a certain number of experts at every school, which is hard, and then do we have them giving a specific class during,
Right.
certain times throughout the year where then students could come up and ask questions afterwards. But even then, they may want private time to ask those questions. So I think the counselor role
Counselor role is where
was
that
going to be
jumps in.
better.
An even bigger reason why the parents need to understand the content. So when they
Yeah.
go home, they know what's happening.
No, yeah, you're right.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Any-
All right, thank you all.
Is there any other discussion? Okay. So is there a motion to approve the recommendations for the Safe and Healthy Schools Standing Committee presentation? We have a motion? Tell me. Thank you, Jennifer. All right. Do I have a second? Clarina? Thank you. Is there any discussion on the motion? Okay, no discussion, so let's vote on the motion. If I can, again, have everybody's attention, the vote will be conducted by ballot. If I can get Brandon Turner and Mitch Knapp to be the tellers. They will be coming around to provide a ballot for each of the SHAC members, except for the trustee who is a non-voting member. As mentioned before, on the ballot, please mark yes to approve the motion, or no to disapprove the motion, or if you choose to abstain from the vote. After making your choice, please fold the ballot, again in the hamburger style, and hold it up for one of the tellers to come by and collect it. Okay, at this time, has everyone voted? Has everyone voted that wishes to vote?
Everyone needs to.
Please raise your hand if you have not. Okay, I do not see any hands, so at this time, the polls are closed. If I could please have Mr. Hilliard come up and give us an update on the board meeting from Monday.
You just want to sit in the middle seat.
I don't care. It's Dr. Micah's chair. Hello, everybody. This is not as fun as Mr. Tony's game. I'd rather pick green on the raw. Just a quick update for y'all. At the board meeting Monday night, the board voted to have the SHAC look at the high school health requirement. So high school health is an optional graduation requirement by law currently, and it has been for the last 10 plus years or so. I'll get the exact timeline to y'all in an email next week. But Northeast, I almost said Roosevelt, my high school, Northeast has made it a mandatory graduation requirement. It's a half semester. So then it leaves another half semester. So the discussion is looking at making it a optional. There's no discussion of eliminating it. And so let's get that off the table because we've heard people say different things. Making it optional graduation requirement. So the course will still remain, but looking at making it optional so that a parent and their child can decide based on their different activities to do that. That's one option. The other option is make no change and keep it a mandatory graduation. And then the other option, also in conjunction with that, is a case-by-case waiver process. We've had multiple students over the last several years that run into challenges trying to fit everything in. And the half-semester health requirement creates that challenge. There are some other options online during the summer, but once again, that can be an economic burden, also time away from family, school, all that stuff. But the real task the board has given is to build a special ad hoc committee, which will be one parent, ideally, or it could be a community member from each SMD. And the trustee will pick for the Roosevelt/SMD2. We discussed that as well. If any of those parents are here afterwards, I can talk briefly to y'all. And we'll also coordinate with Mr. Byer, but make sure that there's representation across all 7 SMDs. And then the SHAC facilitator, Mrs. Aguilar, will be there as well, or a designee if schedule doesn't that. The big task is it's going to be a recommendation, this ad hoc committee to the full SHAC by May, to come to the board by the end of May so that there can be planning in place for next year. If no change, make it optional with waiver. So there'll be some discussions. I will send an email out to everybody as the board liaison, and then we're going to get the names this week. 2 other key points. The board is sending out a survey via the district staff. Each trustee is asking 2 questions, every 8th through 11th grade parent and every 8th through 11th grade student related to this topic. So they have some good data points. Also, that ad hoc committee special, one of those people can be designated to go directly to Mr. Jarrett, who's the head of curriculum, to get any sort of data points you need or stuff so that you'll be very informed. And the intent of that ad hoc committee is kind of like what y'all do here, is to bring back to the full SHAC in May a recommendation for y'all to vote on about possible changes, waivers, et cetera. So that group, whoever volunteers, is going to probably be kind of like the Chase committee has been with, probably weekly or biweekly, and it doesn't have to be in person. Y'all can Zoom, whatever works for y'all. That's for your committee to decide the details. But that's the tasking from the board and the request from the board. And once again, I'll have an email that I'll send to Mrs. Aguilar, kind of breaking out with some more specifics, a little bit of the background and information, so that everybody on the SHAC knows. And then the ad hoc committees by next week, each trustee should have picked their appointed parent and or community member to represent them. So,
Mr. Hilliard, if I may, since you mentioned that there could be a designee, I would like to request that I can put a designee because this is clearly a conflict of interest for me.
well, and that's why we talked about the board
Yes.
meeting. So if you have somebody you would like, we can talk afterwards, or
Okay.
if you know it is, however, that's because that'll be handled. So
Yes.
certainly.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you, Mr. Hilliard.
Yep.
Appreciate it. Oh, I guess there are a couple of questions.
We need a microphone, please. We have to. Nope.
I just was wondering, and Mr. Hiller, you might not be able to answer this because I don't remember when it was, but I feel like there was a discussion in the SHAC about this. Does anybody remember that? Can anyone help me? Does anybody remember a discussion in the past recently? Yeah, about. Oh, okay, we didn't vote or, okay. Oh, okay, it was okay. I just thought it sounded familiar, so I wanted to ask what had happened.
It came up during the first HSAE review, and I believe Classroom Health and Sex Ed has it in one of their notes from a meeting that they would tackle it when they finished HSAE adoption. Does that sound right?
Community feedback form multiple times. So it came up in the community feedback form when we were doing, prior to us recommending choosing the best, when there was open community feedback for the curriculums. That was a multiple comment item that community members put on the form, and we did answer on that form by saying that right now our focus was to get the instruction into schools to meet, to be in compliance, and that would be something that would be addressed after we completed the review.
I just wanted to be sure that whoever is on the ad hoc committee in the future, if you're looking for any health data, of course it would not be any individualized or confidential health information, but just incidents of health information, to please reach out to health services, and we would be able to get that committee whatever information we are able to disclose.
Looks like we have a question. Oh,
Yes,
sorry.
thank you. Is it possible, just for a SHAC, to not just get the 8th through 12th grade parents, but all parents of our district to weigh on this? Because I personally wouldn't be allowed to do that survey the way my children fall, but it sounds like the district doesn't shift policy very quickly. So this will affect my children. And so I would like my voice to be heard as well.
Great point. The board, we had several discussions, but the decisions were made for 8th to 11th because there's some issues with cohorts, and also if we do waivers. Valid point, because it could be your kids in 7th, 6th, 5th. That's not going to be part of the survey because I can't speak on behalf of the board. The board made a board vote, 8th through 11th parents and 8th through 11th students. Having said that, you can always provide feedback to the board, and is that something that we could reach out to? The other thing I would offer is, as anybody on the SHAC, once the ad hoc committee is built, could provide questions that they can go and ask answers for and or request. I can't make that promise or guarantee that.
So if we were on that committee, or we could ask that a committee to get that information in a different survey for us?
There's a possibility for that, so I would say ask for that, but I
Okay.
can't make any promises or
And
guarantees.
could we also, I'm just kind of mimicking what we did for the curriculum.
Yeah.
We asked all parents, regardless if their kid was in that
Yeah.
grade. And we also asked teachers.
Yes.
What do you like? And so I'm trying to mimic that so that we are making a decision not just in one cohort.
Oh, I understand, no, because it's the
So-
balance of their scorecard, and it's the student, the stakeholders, the parents, staff, and obviously taxpayers. So look at all that stuff. So those are all good points to put into there, but I can't guarantee any of that stuff because we're not at a board meeting with the board
Right, but we
majority.
do have 2 more board meetings in February. Could that come up on the agenda for a
There's a
vote?
possibility for, it won't be the 19th, no, and there's a 10-day lead time.
Okay.
The next one's on the would be the 26th. There could be a discussion, and I can send a request, Mrs. Groen is back there, the board president, to have a survey for all eligible kids to see if the board wants to expand that, because it will be a long-term consideration. So
I appreciate that.
we can do that as well. So
Great.
yes, and anybody knows they can also provide feedback to the board directly,
Sure.
board members of the board, but it's different than what y'all are going to need for your tasking.
Great, thank you.
There was one more comment in the back.
I'm gonna keep it moving along so I don't take too much else time.
Yeah. I will, while we're waiting for the microphone to get back there, I would suggest if you're interested in being on the ad hoc committee, please reach out to your trustee and let them know your interest as well as that information. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell me again what is going to be outlined in the email that you're sending to Ms.
Again,
Aguilar? Like, what can I expect to get follow-up on?
You're going to get the short background. Anybody can go watch the actual board meeting if you're
I watched it.
so inclined. But the actual, what the task is for the ad hoc committee. So that's going to be specific to look at the options. Then the authority, which the board gave the authority, and Dr. Mike was right here, that that committee can go directly to Mr. Jarrett to get data, questions asked, answer, and to be able to present at May. And then a little bit of the background. All the trustees received information on the history of all of this, including when the SHAC was involved in votes and that stuff. So I'm going to outline some of the high-level points so that you'll have a little bit of the history as well based on the information that we received as trustees so that there's clarity. It's not going to be everything, and there'll probably be more questions than not, but just a little bit of structure and framework so what the actual purpose of the ad hoc and then what the entire SHAC will vote on in May in the timeline. So big picture,
Yeah.
And if there's more questions, you can always come back and I will gladly get answers if I'm able to get answers for you.
So there's nothing that is going to be outlined in terms of how this ad hoc committee is being selected?
Oh, that was already done at the board meeting.
Okay,
You watched the board meeting, you said?
yeah.
Each trustee is appointing one parent or community member.
And that's either or from SHAC, from the already existing SHAC committee or outside of that? Is that correct?
No, any of the parents on their SHAC. So you don't have to be any.
Any of the parents on the SHAC?
Any parent in their SMD. So I will get one pick, as will Mrs. Grona, as will Mrs. Landry, so on and so forth. So we each get one parent, or it can be a community member that will represent, and then we're also going to ensure Roosevelt, the SMD2, is included as well. So it's going to be that, and then, as we talked about, the SHAC facilitator or designee will be on there as well. So that will be the special ad hoc committee.
Okay.
So, and if we weren't clear at the board meeting, I thought we were, but maybe we weren't because there was a robust conversation.
Yeah, it was a 4-hour meeting. A lot of information.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mitch, you want to please read the outcome of the vote, please?
Mr. Chairman, in regards to the Safe and Healthy Schools Tucker's Law balloting, number of votes cast, 28. Number necessary for election, majority of votes cast, 15. Those in favor, aye, 22. Those opposed, no, 6. Illegal votes, 0.
Okay, for the motion on the Safe and Healthy Schools for Tucker's Law, there were 28 votes cast. The number for the majority is 15. Those in favor of the recommendation and the motion is 22. Those opposed were 6. There were zero illegal votes, and so the motion is passed and approved. Okay, the next item on the agenda, if I could please have Ben Elliott, Chairperson of the Classroom Health and Sex Ed Standing Committee, to present the committee recommendations on elementary maturation.
Hello, everybody. Thank you all for coming today. Y'all know I'm Ben Elliott, Chairman of the Classroom Health and Sex Ed Committee for the SHAC for NEISD. We are here, Chase is bringing to y'all today our recommendation for the 4th and 5th grade maturation programs that we've reviewed and ultimately selected to be recommended or to be brought to y'all for vote for recommendation. Our goal today is to just put forth our recommendation. Hopefully you guys have had a chance to review everything. The transcripts were made available to y'all. I think y'all had an opportunity to watch the videos. There was no comments on our form. Well, there was one comment, no questions. So hopefully this can be relatively quick. As y'all know, the TEKS have been our guidance for all of the curriculum selection that we've made thus far. This strand, we reviewed the 4th and 5th grade puberty and reproduction TEKS, which in 4th grade is TEK number 20. And then for 5th grade was TEK 22. The way maturation has historically been taught in any ISD is it's opt-in, requires active permission from parents to opt their student in. It's been presented once a year to 4th and 5th grade students in gender-specific groups in a 1-hour session held in an alternative classroom arrangement, mainly using a video-based curriculum and taught by the school nurse. Here's just a quick kind of recap of the TEKs that were involved in this review process. As you'll see for the 4th grade, you have the anatomy, puberty, and reproduction TEK 20. In 5th grade, strand 22 is the anatomy, puberty, reproduction, but there also are the TEKs that cover healthy relationships, boundaries, sexual harassment. Those TEKs are not being covered by this recommended curriculum. We are still reviewing potential ways to cover these TEKs, but for the purpose of what we're presenting today, we're not considering those. So this will just be TEK 22 for 5th grade and 20 for 4th grade, just anatomy, puberty, and reproduction only. For our review process, Health Services, Nursing Administration conducted a search of maturation programs available, either online or otherwise, and then reviewing what other school districts of similar size in Texas are using. They came up with 25 materials that were evaluated by Health Services and nurse administrators. Chase reviewed the previous format that we just went over, and our decision was to continue with the previous format of nurse taught, 1 hour, primarily video-based. The video-based recommendation is kind of around the fact that nurses are teaching this and nurses are not certified as educators. So we wanted the program to be already developed so that they just have to present it. Because of that format, that reduced the amount of available options for our review. We reviewed 7 videos using the anatomy, puberty, and reproduction TEKs as our guideline, and narrowed that down to a total of 5 videos. 2 videos for 4th grade, 2 videos for 5th grade, and a 5th video that our recommendation is to show a portion of, which covers the stages of fetal development. Chase held 2 public meetings on January 23rd and 24th, where we showed the videos in their entirety and put the video transcripts on Skyward so that parents could preview the material. They were invited to leave feedback on the Google Forms, which, to my knowledge, we still have not received any on that form. So, short and sweet, again, with our feedback form that was sent to you all. No questions. As you could see there, 1 comment. The comment was just to say they found no concerns with any of the videos, support their use. With that being said, the Chase's recommendation formally is to recommend the 5 videos mentioned, which for boys would be Meet the New You, is the title of the video, and this is by Marsh Media, who produced these videos. And then Meet the New You for girls. This slide is incorrect because it says boys and then boys, girls, but really yeah. Is that right? It's Meet the New You for both grades? I thought they were different. Oh, I'm sorry. Forgive me, y'all. I'm a little spaced out. I have a cold. Okay, for 4th grade, my apologies. Meet the New You for boys, full length of the video. And Meet the New You for girls. So that was the piece of the TEKs that I think was differed from previous, was the boys and the girls in 4th grade previously were only, I think boys were only receiving instruction on boy and girls were only receiving instruction on girls. The TEKs kind of state that boys and girls should be able to demonstrate the stages of development. So we're recommending that boys and girls will learn both. They will see the videos for the boys and the videos for girls. So it's the same video recommended for boys and girls. They'll each see both videos. And then any ISD elementary maturation procedure manual and teaching guide document. And then the recommendation for 5th grade is the Straight Talk videos. And again, boys and girls will both receive the Straight Talk for Boys and Straight Talk for Girls videos. Is that on there? Oh yeah, so the Baby is Born video, the first 5 minutes of that video is what we're recommending to cover the stages of fetal development, which is not covered in the other videos, which is part of TEKS 22E for 5th grade. With that being said, Tony, I'll turn it to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Ben. Is there a motion to approve the recommendation for the Classroom Health and Sex Education Standing Committee? We have a motion by Sean. Do we have a second?
I have a question.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I just, point of clarification.
Yeah.
Just looking at the manual that the teachers would have, and I wanted clarification on the yellow, the highlighted portion. Those are just points that would not be in the video, but could still be, it's not like they're being struck from instruction.
I'm not tracking, I'm sorry, I don't have that open in front of me to look at what the yellow is.
So the information in that document that is highlighted in yellow, we wanted to, as a committee, be sure that it stood out because it's information that is not included in the videos, but that would be helpful when answering questions that students may have. So it's not something that would necessarily be presented in every class. It's just if a question was asked related to that material, it could be used to answer it.
Okay. Just curious.
Does that answer that?
Yes,
Okay.
it does. I just want to make sure. Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion that was on the approval of the maturation by Sean. Do we have a second? Diana. I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand raised up, Diana. Thank you very much. All right, we have a second by Diana. Okay, is there any discussion on the presentation? All right, no discussion, then let's vote on the motion. Okay, now this, I need everybody's attention, please. On this vote will be conducted for accurate reporting to the board. Brandon Turner and Mitch Kanoth will be our tellers. Because this recommendation involves the use of district funds, all members wishing to vote must submit a completed conflict of interest form. The tellers will exchange a ballot for the completed conflict of interest form for each member present except for the trustee who is a non-voting member. Again, as we did before, on the ballot, please mark yes to approve the motion, no to disapprove the motion, or you may choose to abstain from the vote. After making your choice, please fold your ballot in the hamburger style, like such. And please raise your hand so the tellers can come by and collect it.
I get? Okay. Make sure we still have a quorum. No, I mean for the next, for anything moving forward. Majority plus one. Well, 51%. So we're still at 28 right now. So we have to have. I wrote it on the sheet.
So does anybody want to choose a color while we're waiting for the collection of the votes? Or y'all can just talk amongst yourselves. No, unfortunately, we have to stay on task. Otherwise, I would have done that earlier, but thank you very much for the recommendation.
In case there's a revote. In case there's a revote. It's a good time to clean up maybe a little bit, like throw your trash away, gather your stuff together.
That's true. At this time, you could stretch your legs, get your physical activity, throw the trash away, make sure your area is clean.
And while we're waiting, if you don't mind, Tony, I will mention it's actually on the agenda. On February 29th, which is Leap Day, we're hosting an event, PE and Health, along with our kids' school health members, along with the American Heart Association. We're holding essentially a little community health fair out at Northeast Sports Park. Health services is going to be there, nutrition services, wellness. The big push is American Heart Association is going to teach hands-only CPR, and they're going to give out 100 at-home practice CPR kits for the first 100 people who sign up and attend. And our SHAC kiddos all picked a heart-healthy topic, and they're going to host information booths and activities. So they're going to have some physical activities going on and nutrition. They're going to partner with nutrition services. We're going to have the smoothie bike out there where you make some smoothies by riding the bike, and some recipes. We're going to have a scavenger hunt. It's going to be loads of fun. So if you can come out February 29th, it's called Take a Leap, Save a Life, because it's Leap Day. It's at the bottom on upcoming. Is it not on there? Oh, I think it was on your agenda. That's the other one. I will also send out a flyer. We have flyers going out. It's on the district website, thanks to Evan over there. It's going to be 6:30 to 8 o'clock out at the sports park. We would love for you all to come out and see the great work the kids have done. They've put a lot of work into it. So thanks, Tony.
Thank you, Jen, and hopefully we can get a lot of people come out and support that. Just for the record, it is a consensus that Sean has been voted the sharp dressed man for today. Oh, yeah, hey, Sean, if you want to step forward and do your little walk on the catwalk.
Sir, 'cause this is going on Facebook.
Okay.
No.
All right, if I can get everybody's attention, please. Okay, it looks like we have a tally of the votes.
Mr. Chairman, in regards to the Chase Elementary maturation balloting, 28 votes cast, 15 were needed for election. Those in favor, aye, 26. Those opposed, no, 2. Illegal votes, 0.
Okay, so the voting on the Chase recommendation for elementary maturation, there were 28 votes cast, 15 were needed for a majority. Those in favor were 26, those opposed 2. There were 0 illegal votes, and so the motion is approved. Okay, real quick. The next item on the agenda is old business, the executive committee update on concerns about harassment. So we did meet on the executive board, or executive committee. We came up with some suggestions that the board, we need to make a recommendation for, or get a recommendation from the board on some type of protection for the SHAC members. We're going to propose, the executive committee is going to write a letter to the Board of Trustees requesting the board's assistance with the bylaws. I know that's something that we've been going through in each of the standing committees, and but there are certain things that really the SHAC needs information and guidance from the Board of Trustees as opposed to the SHAC telling the Board of Trustees what we need or what needs to be done. So again, those are going to be recommendations. The other thing is a disclosure before every meeting. As you know, we do read a paragraph to set the tone on for the full SHAC. That is something that we as an executive board felt was very important that we disclose and actually have read at each of the standing committees so that the code of conduct within the standing committees remains in a proper fashion, that we're respectful of everybody's opinions, even if we disagree with them. And that would be not only from a standpoint of our reaction, it could be with our facial expressions. We need to be cognizant of that not only in the standing committees, but also in the full SHAC meetings like today, because we are actually on video. And the same thing during the presentations to the Board of Trustees, because those are also being televised and videoed. So that's something that we felt was very important, that we, again, be respectful, even if you don't necessarily agree with the viewpoint or the idea or that perspective, but that we are respectful to that person. Everyone has an opinion, and we don't have to necessarily agree with it, but you have to be cognizant of that the camera is around, and let's be respectful for that. So again, the other thing was the disclosure for those new members to the SHAC, and the standing committees that they will be exposed to some public scrutiny because, again, these proceedings are being videoed, and as well as the Board of Trustee. So there is a potential of outside influences trying to reach those people that are on the SHAC. So for those new members that were not aware of that, we need to make sure that that is something that we as a executive board present to those members that are willing to volunteer their time. So again, in synopsis, we're going to get some guidance from the board on how and what information is required for those SHAC members. So that was the update from the executive board. Is there any questions? Yes, ma'am.
So in those recommendations or the guidance that you're going to receive from the board, will there be questions about stipulations for members that are influenced or that provide information? I read some of the notes from the other standing committees, so are there going to be consequences involved? And if we don't abide, I mean, any of us, if we don't abide by certain conducts, that we won't be able to participate, or
So that's kind of where the I guess code of conduct within the SHAC, but also within the individual standing committees, that we felt like that if each standing committee should present or come up with their own norms, as opposed to what I had mentioned in the board meeting was that I was working under, because I'm an older or experienced member of the SHAC, we did operate under a sense of, I guess I'm trying to think of, all of a sudden I went blank on the term, but we felt like what was said in the standing committee stayed in the standing committee, and we were only presenting those recommendations from the standing committee, and so the individual discussions was not for public consumption, and so because we did not establish those norms, there were some people in the standing committee that felt like that we were being full disclosure, and so that they didn't have any ill intent by providing information of what was disclosed in the standing committee. And so I don't know if I'm answering your question.
going forward?
Oh,
Like
going
going forward.
Yeah, going forward, like I said, it's going to go back to the bylaw. We made a recommendation in the bylaws that, or in the proposed bylaws, is that each standing committee should create their own norms to establish their code of conduct. Does that answer the question? And then, of course, obviously, as a full SHAC, we should still have those same type of norms of, respect for other people's opinions, allow them to make their presentation, and then you can vote if you either for or against. Okay. All right, great. With that, the next item on the agenda is to read a second reading of the bylaw revision recommendations.
At this point, I think we're 15 minutes over. What I would like to propose, I would actually make a motion to shift the March 20th standing committee SHAC meeting, where we're all meeting back but doing individual standing committee Instead of just meeting as individual standing committees, we convert the March 20th to a full SHAC meeting, since we're all going to be here anyway. And that way we can have a more robust conversation about the bylaws, specifically to help time with making sure that norms and stuff like that are entered properly for our recommendation to our trustees and the board. Because I don't think this is a conversation we should rush. I'm moving.
We have a motion. We have a second by Debbie. Motion was by Ron. Second was by Debbie. Is there any discussion on the motion to use the March 20th standing committee meeting into a full SHAC meeting? No discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye and raise your hand. All those opposed, raise your hand and say nay. Okay, the ayes have it. So the March 20th SHAC meeting will be a full SHAC meeting as opposed to just a standing committee. Great. And with that, it is 1:47 and the SHAC meeting is adjourned. Thank you for everybody's time and attention. Apologize for going over.